and so the summer came quietly. In the meantime, I had made progress on several important endeavors. One of them, oddly enough, was identity. I wondered what makes me an artist. You know, only a bad writer doesn't wonder if he is not a graphomaniac. In my past, I thought that artists are like just musicians, riffing on their creations with improvisation and soul, each piece a unique performance that hits different emotional notes. Craftsmen, on the other hand, are like skilled watchmakers, ensuring every gear fits and ticks just right for a flawless performance. So, while the artist's tune might take you on a wild, unexpected journey, the craftsman work is like a reliable, perfectly typed metronome. It's the difference between spontaneous jam session and meticulously rehearsed symphony. While both artists and craftsmen create, the key difference lies in their approach and end goal. Artists primarily focus on expressing their unique vision and creativity, often aiming to evoke emotion and provoke thought, or even an action. But let's for a minute forgive ourselves our bigotry and confess that sometimes in a contemporary art gallery we often find ourselves thinking, is there art in front of us, or is this really art? So, for the art's sake, I decided to make my fallen collection in a multidisciplinary way and to put a strong message into it, so that anyone who wants to will be able to recognize themselves in it. And also it must penetrate people's lives through routine and familiar things that are not related to doll art like music, jewelry and interior objects. So the structure of the conception. I'm making about a dozen types of dolls in honor to the districts of Barcelona. The first one, El Gothic, you've already seen, and it was groping the ground. At the end, I tell about how I finally picked a name for her. The sequel will explore the theme more vividly and from different angles. For each one, I will make a creative accompaniment and tell a story. Each doll will be a separate collection, which I will replicate with the help of my students and technology. The doll will be made in different techniques and materials in limited editions. Each doll won't stop being one of a kind after all. Each doll will be hand sculpted, carved or cast by hand, and then also dressed and showed. I have now made a master model of the doll from which I took the mold in the last release. I will use it to cast replicas in liquid Flumo porcelain, as well as making some variations in polymer clay. Now, with the help of Barcelona Craftsmen, we are scanning it in volume to make a 3D model for the CNC machine and cut some dolls out of wood. But before I talk further about the costume and the news of the workshop, I want to share a most emotional experience about the character and about her song. Music, one of the rare basic art forms that includes time, and sometimes which penetrates your life without your permission. So I decided to record music for each doll with different local musicians. So the idea is to have a whole album ready, which I'll release as soon as it's ready in singles. The first track is about Barceloneta, an area that I also feel like El Gothic because I have been living in it for more than 2 months now. We made it together with Rodo.
looks bad like this. Now it's better. At first, this project was a little bit surprise to me because I haven't made any music without the visuals, so it was kind of a new project. Difficult to imagine at first how to make it, but then, like talking with Anna, we have the main idea of what we want, and I give my idea of what I think about the sounds we use, the kind of music. After making an agreement, I began to work with some recordings of flamenco guitar, and then I sampled some Spanish cajon. I make some pianos, I make some pads, and I use a lot of field recordings of the sound of the square of Barceloneta, the sea, the birds of Barceloneta that we usually listen over there. Also the cava, that it's typical alcohol that we drink here in Barcelona and in Barceloneta. And we made this story that it begins in the sea with Carmen, that is the main character. Here's Carmen. And she begins the journey in the close to the sea, and then she began to walk and getting inside the neighborhood of Barceloneta, and she began to listen all these kids playing on the square and people talking and people having fun and drinking cava. And then after she just been walking around the neighborhood, she goes back to the sea and she ends the journey over there with the sound of the sea. Really calm and enjoying a sunny day.
Hi, Carmen.
Like typical in Barcelona. Here is like the main group of the guitars that I have done. A group of guitars that is a rhythmic guitar. And then this pink one is the rhythm guitar. This purple one is like the one that is playing with the fingers. Then here are the percussion group. I sampled this from all recordings of flamenco because I don't have a cajon, I don't play it, but it sounds really good for the song. So I did like 4 samples of different cajon, and I record over there with the microphone the palmas, typical from this kind of flamenco rumba style. Then here I have a piano. The piano appears in the beginning, in the middle, and in the middle of the song. And then we have the effects group, that it has the sound of the sea, the birds, the people on the square of Barceloneta, some sounds of the cava, and I have the sound of a friend of mine that she was the one that said the name of Carmen, and she recorded like different intentions for when she said Carmen, like some happy, some more serious, some more screaming. And then after we record these are all the recordings of the voices, so I choose the best for the project, and at the end we have 3 voices for the song. And the voices are like in the middle and close to the end. She said, "Ay Carmen," like a typical expression thing. It's like, "Ay Carmen." She said like, "Ay Carmen." She said like, "Esa Carmen," like people like when they are drinking cava. She said, "Esa Carmen," like Esa Carmen is like saying like, "Here is Carmen," like Esa Carmen, like giving her like some energy to drink the cava, you know. And here it's just "Ay Carmen" is like the way to end the song. It's like "Ay Carmen," like maybe when someone is in love, people said "Ay Carmen." Yeah, I'm really happy. What I said before, it was kind of difficult at the beginning to understand or make an idea in my mind, but after some meetings and we agreed what was the best things to do, and at the end it was really fun to do this because I think it's the first time I worked doing audiovisuals without the visual, so I make the visual on my head. So it was really fun.
making her a camisole that will be reminiscent of Columbus sea voyages. My doll are our contemporaries, so this is my image of a nautical camisole from that time. I use antique lace and lots of interesting details in the costume. I did the sketches using Midjourney's neural network, which we know because of the sinister pictures and the Pope scandal. The funny thing is that for me this tool was very useful. I'll tell you how to make this outfit from idea to realization in a separate course. I think I'll have it up within a month, as well as another step-by-step course on how to make shoes, and on casting molds tool is almost ready, so is the painting almost. Subscribe to the channel and to Instagram so as not to miss the link in the description. A sign of the times is creative collaborations. On such a case, I went to see a couple of local fashion designers with whom I want to do collaborations for particular areas, but more on that later. I want to balance the strict shape of the camisole with an airy skirt and resemble sea foam and wind. The wind called Garbi, Catalan name for the marine wind, a warm southwesterly wind in Catalonia blowing from the sea from the southeast and north of the Spain from the south of France. Garbi is associated with the passage of cyclones and the resulting rainy and cloudy weather, which for a second is an absolute blessing for Barcelona, 320 days of sunshine a year. I have made a lingerie from vintage lace. My work is definitely one-off because any lace only lasts for a few sets. But you know the rule, no savings as far as underwear is concerned. I painted my doll with Genesis paints. They are the best option for painting an articulate doll. They are baked in an oven and are very durable. With them you can achieve the effect of human skin. Soon I will release a separate course on painting doll with these colors. Genesis is an American paint based on colored resin and thermoplastic polymer. Sometimes it is called oil paint for some reason. It took me a long time to find an analog, as Genesis itself is no longer in production and I had to look for leftovers in warehouses in different countries. In the end, I found the Spanish equivalent of this paint. It is called Quebelca and my students have already tried it. I will tell you about it later. But first I'll tell you about Genesis. I'll start with the disadvantages on this paint. First of all, its cost. But it has a very low consumption because we dilute it a lot. The cans last a long time. The paints are sold in different packing. To start with, you can safely buy the smallest one, 5 ml. It is noodly and painstaking job. The paint is applied in thin layers and each layer is baked separately. But this, I think, cannot frighten a real doll maker. And it is not sold everywhere. The easiest place to find it in the online shops associated with ribbon dolls. The funny thing that the design purpose is this paint is different and the ribbonists just created a fashion for it, so the dolls artists started buying it en masse. It is a bakeable paint. At 110–130 degrees, it becomes very strong and bonds firmly to the polymer clay. It is therefore excellent for painted ball-jointed dolls. Bake it in a conventional oven or aircon. In my course, I paint my previous doll step by step. I start with a general skin tone, which I apply in several layers. This helps to hide dirt and minor imperfections. Then I work on the details and then I finish with a finishing medium. It creates a lather effect and protects the painting. Subscribe to make sure you don't miss it.